Coach, whenever you're ready.
Big win for us. We with Vandy on the road and South Carolina, all of us are kind of in the same pack together. Right now, for the next 48 hours, we're in second place. So, but that will be short-lived regardless because so much more basketball to go. Both Vandy and South Carolina are playing very good basketball, different styles. Vandy, more systematic, smaller. South Carolina, one of the best teams in the country, if not the best team in the country. It has always been a tough place. I think I've only had one win at Vandy, so it is not. And I think if you look at the numbers, we hadn't had a lot of wins at Vandy historically. It's just a really tough place to play with the benches are on opposite ends, and you're kind of out there together. And then South Carolina, I think they sell out every game, so they'll have anywhere from 12 to 14,000 people cheering for them. So it'll be great, two great games, but two great challenges, and first up, Vandy.
What do you see out of that Vanderbilt program? It's kind of like you were doing here. It's kind of getting on the rise and had a strong start to conference play so far.
Yeah, I mean, Shea Ralph is a winner. Shea Ralph. Funny story, I replaced Shea at Pitt. So when she left to go be with Gino at UConn, I took her spot. And so I've been knowing about her, obviously, as a player, but in the profession as well. And then her husband was my collegiate coach. So, they're winners and competitors. And I knew when she went to Vandy, it was a great decision because of their AD. I knew they were going to be patient with her and allow her to build it in the Vandy way. They're not going to have a tremendous amount of transfers. That's just not how, their school is built. So it takes them a little longer. And I don't think anybody in our conference is surprised in what they're doing because even when they didn't win a lot, like us, they always played their butts off. So I expect it to be a competitive fight.
Maybe there's nothing to this, but playing in two completely different types of gyms and atmospheres like you are, is there something to have to make sure that the previous gym doesn't alter, a mindset or just because of how different they might be?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've never looked at it like that, Vandy presents its challenges for a lot of people, but at the same time, the ball still got to go in the basket. Or you got to stop the ball from going in the basket. And luckily for us, we're a defensive team. So, we want to be. And so if we get stops, that should make us be able to get a little closer to the basket and not have to worry about depth perception and so on and so forth. And definitely, so I don't think we're going to allow that to play into our heads. We're just really excited about the opportunity. What is this, we've played 7 games? So we're halfway. No, almost halfway, because 16. Yeah, so we're almost halfway. So now you got to fight. And I think every team in the SEC is fighting because, you can't relax. Next thing you know, you're fighting for 5th or 6th place. I think the SEC tournament this year on the women's side will be one of the most exciting tournaments that it has been in a long time. Like, I really can't tell you who's going to win.
What do you think's led to maybe parity, even including South Carolina, because they've had close games themselves, to make the SEC so closely batched top to bottom this year?
Yeah, and I'm glad you included South Carolina because, usually you couldn't even step on the floor with them. Now, they're young, and, Coach, they're still building, but at least you don't have to get embarrassed. You know what I mean? Like, you really could just go out and compete with them as they're figuring things out as well. I think when it comes to the parity, the transfer portal, there will be a lot of teams that play their basketball a little later. I expect it for us. I even expect it for our men. because it just takes games to figure things out. And I think that is why you're seeing the upsets and whatnot. I also think the fifth-year seniors are big too. If you look at the teams that are having upsets, go ahead and count how many fifth-year seniors they have on their roster. That's those young women have played a lot of basketball and have been in a lot of experiences, and so I don't think it will kind of mellow off until after next year. That's the last year for fifth-year seniors. But right now, these young ladies have played a lot of basketball, and you can't scare them. If it was traditional, that 18 to 22-year-old, they got nerves. And if I've been playing for 6 years, I don't have nerves. So, and we have one, and that's going around the country. And I think that's what's adding to it.
What you see going back, I know you watched it the other night,
Yeah.
just watching your film, what you see in that Tennessee game at, post-mortem there?
I just saw like a tremendous amount of fight for our young women. They really wanted to win that game for a lot of reasons, but most importantly, for standings. Like we are trying to chase history here, and we know what that looks like and what number we have to get to do it. And so every time we get to play, we know it's an opportunity to try to get one in the win column so we could chase history. I'm still not happy about our defense parts of it. That's something that these next 2 days, hopefully, we can really get some. I think we're not as sure as we need to be on some things. And so as a coach, I accept responsibility for that. And I told my team that this morning when we watched film, that I'm going to fix some things defensively. But offensively, we're clicking. We're playing hard. And like I said, I feel good about where we are right now.
This is, I guess, year 6, you're wrapping up and, trending that way. I know a whole lot more basketball to play,
Yeah.
but you're trending to have gotten this team to the NCAA tournament in half of the years you've been here. I mean, what does, getting them twice in a row, 3 in a row, for you, is that on schedule for you? Or when you sit back and think in the summer, is that even maybe ahead of schedule for what you had in mind?
Well, I'll tell you what I think. What I think is right now we're only 5-2, and if we lose the rest, then we're not doing it. I'm not planning on doing any other postseason in the NCAA tournament. So, it's hard for me to answer that right now. But I can tell you that that's something that I would love for our program to experience. And that's why I said, we wanted to win for a numerous amount of things. We want to continue to build a strong resume. I think they have us in right now, but there's so much more basketball to go. What my team is trying to do is control their own destiny. We don't want to leave it up to anybody. We don't want to leave it up to a committee. We want to put together a strong resume to say, hey, get used to us being here. This is hopefully our 3rd time, and, give us a chance to even make a deeper run.
Coach Boyd, can you help us? How do you think her progress throughout the year?
Toddy has truly now settled in to the style of play in the SEC. And I think she's going to continue to get better because now she has a level of confidence. And I think confidence comes from just knowing as well. And she just didn't know what to expect. She didn't know how physical the Southeastern Conference is. You get what I'm saying? And so you kind of have to go through it, and all my transfers have. I think she's going to continue to build that confidence because Toddy is in the gym all the time. She works on her craft, and, it's not much she hasn't seen so far. Vandy will be something a little different, which will be good for her. But as far as I'm looking at the rest of the schedule, those are teams that we've played similar teams against or we've played before, and I expect her to step up. But I'm really proud of how she's started to come along, and that's normal for a transfer. You know, I know that the media gets excited and says top 10, top 1, top 15, top 25 transfer, but it takes time. And that is why, again, I've been saying, like, y'all, February going into March, you know, we're going to really play our best basketball. So Tennessee was a great win, but I was disappointed in us defensively. For fans, it was an awesome game because I was at the edge of my seat and I knew what happened. And I was still on the edge of my seat watching it. It was like a boxing match. But for a coach, I'd rather not have as much stress as I had in that game.
Any other questions? Great, thanks everyone.
Thank you.